Hey, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Chung here, trying to explain the leChatliers principles assignment that you guys will be working on today. Let's begin. So this first part right here, just as a heads up, that's just to let you guys know that you guys need to know exactly where the reactants and the products are located when you look at a chemical reaction. Again, this might be a quick review, but hopefully you remember things on the left side of our arrow are what we consider to be the reactants, aka our starting materials, and everything on the right side is what we consider to be the products or our end results. So using the chemical equation on our left here, right, you should be able to tell me exactly where the reactants and what the products are. Hopefully you came to the conclusion that it was A and B, and that our products were AB. Right? According to the arrow, everything on the left is our reactants and everything on the right is our products. Now, when it comes to leChatliers principle, remember, anything at equilibrium, you add some kind of stress to it, the system itself will naturally try to alleviate that stress by shifting the reaction one way or another. Now remember, in reactions, they're constantly happening. So if this is at equilibrium, we add some changes, right? It wants to shift in that opposite direction. So whether we add a reactant or a product, it's going to shift in the opposite direction that you added it to. So if you shift, or if you add things on the left side, guess what? It's going to shift to the right. And if you add things on the right side, things are going to shift to the left. So here, you should be able to tell me, alright, if I'm adding to the right side, according to the arrow, right, it's got to shift a certain way. And again, if you add things on the left side, right, it's going to shift the opposite direction. So notice where it's being added. Right, wherever it's being added to, right, you want to shift to the other side. Remember, it's just like a seesaw. If too many kids are on one side, hey, right, you got to shift a few kids over to the other side of the seesaw so it's back to being balanced. Right? And that's the same thing if you remove a reactant or a product. Right? If you take a kid off the seesaw, if you take a kid off on that equilibrium or reactant or product, it's going to make one side a little bit lighter, and you got to shift some kids to the other side. So whatever you remove, it wants to shift it towards. So if you remove some reactants, it's want to shift to the left to make more, and if you remove any products, we got a deficit, so we got to fill it up, and we're going to shift it towards that way. When it comes to temperature, try to treat it just like a unit per se, meaning, right, it could be on either side, right, since it's either an endo or exo, so it could be on either side of the reaction, and just think of it like a reactant or product. Like, oh, okay, in this example, heat happens to be a reactant, right? If I add more, right, it's going to shift the other way. And same thing here. We see that our products are now A, B, and heat. So if I were to increase the heat here, just treat that like a product, and then go through the same rules, right? If we add something, all right, it's going to shift the other way. And same thing when you lower the temperature. Again, just treat it like a reactant or product, depending on which side it's on. So if we reduce the heat, right, if we crank down the AC on this guy, right, it's like, ooh, all right, it's cold. Right? Again, just treat it like a reactant or a product. Remember, when we remove products, right, it shifts that way, and if we remove reactants, it also will shift towards that direction. So, if you feel like you need a refresher, there is a video up here. But for this part down here, try to use this reaction, right? Hydrogen plus iodine added with heat will yield you hydrogen iodide. So, assuming we were to add H2, seeing that is a reactant, where you add to one side, it's going to shift towards the other. So if I add to the left side, right, it's going to shift towards the opposite. So as you can see, it shifts towards the right. And when you do that, when you shift towards the right, that means it's making more products, so we're going to see an increase in hydrogen iodide. But to make more hydrogen iodide, we had to use up some of our reactants, so that's why these will decrease. So you'll start noticing a pattern when it shifts towards the right. A lot of these certain things will come often. So hopefully this video has been helpful. Hope you guys have a good one. Stay safe out there. I'll see you guys next time.